Icy Adaptations: How Polar Animals Survive Their Frozen World. Come with me to the frozen places of the world, where ice crystals grow like strange, glittering flowers, and the night skies dance with the aurora, where the wind carves the snow into fantastical shapes, and the cold, quiet silence suggests that life can't possibly take hold in the ice. And yet, life not only endures in the polar regions, but thrives. Polar animals have adapted to their icy environments in astonishing ways. From creating their own antifreeze to accumulating literally tons of blubber, these are the secrets of the animals that call the frozen poles home sweet home. I've encountered two species of reindeer during my Arctic travels. The first was the majestic reindeer of northern Finland. When I play these next videos, what strange sound do you notice? While walking in the forests of Finland, among the bright red mushrooms and rustling birch trees, you may hear a clicking sound. Despite your fairy tale surroundings, that sound isn't wood sprites. It's a Finnish reindeer. When a herd slowly passes through the forest, their only giveaway is this unexpected sound. So, what exactly is happening here? Time for some reindeer anatomy. The sound is caused by the way the tendons in their feet and legs are structured. As the reindeer walk, these tendons snap over their bones to create a rhythmic clicking sound. This enables them to keep track of each other in weather like snowstorms and fog, and also helps young reindeer follow their mothers. Believe it or not, that's not the only way they've adapted from the ankles down. Finnish reindeer's feet actually change with the seasons. In the summer, their feet shrink and condense to make movement over hard forest ground easier. In the winter, their feet spread and soften to accommodate snow travel. When temperatures start to drop, their fur coat gains a layer and their exposed ears grow some extra insulating fuzz. Their noses also get fuzzier and are specially designed to warm air before it gets to their lungs. Even their eyes adapt to lower temperatures. In winter, the pupil dilates to create pressure behind the retina. This causes the reflection of shorter wavelengths, turning the inner tissue of the eye a bluish violet. The color helps reindeer eyes take in more light during the dark Arctic winters. In summer, this process reverses and creates a golden color. This color shields the eye from taking in too much light from the bright Arctic summer sun. Contrary to popular belief, this change doesn't affect the outer appearance of the eye. Most reindeer in northern Finland are herded and managed by the indigenous Sami people, who have a special symbiotic relationship with the animals. Some quick etymology for you. The name reindeer has a Norse origin from the Old Norse word hrein for deer. In Finland, the word for reindeer is poro. They also have an amazing word, poronkusima. Reindeer are unable to walk and pee at the same time, so they have to take a bathroom break roughly every 8 kilometers. In Finnish, this distance is known as poronkusima, or reindeer's pee, and was an old-fashioned description of distances in the countryside, used mostly by the Sami. Yeah, that's my favorite reindeer fun fact too. Let's travel further north, to the small Arctic island of Svalbard. The capital and only city on Svalbard is Longyearbyen, the northernmost community in the world at 78 degrees north. Svalbard is also known for hosting more polar bears than people, but the humans added to their measly numbers in November of 2024, when I came to live in Longyearbyen for the next 4 months for an artist residency. This is where I encountered my second species of Arctic reindeer. Are you all ready for a cuteness overload? The ridiculously cute Svalbard reindeer is a subspecies of reindeer found only on the Arctic island. They are the smallest species of reindeer in the world and have adapted to the very specific environment of Svalbard in several ways. Their wide, furry feet are shaped especially for digging in the snow for their preferred food, lichens and moss. The extra width helps them stay on top of deep snow, like snowshoes, and their furriness keeps them nice and toasty. Their noses are similarly designed to the Finnish reindeer, but they go the extra yard. The air in Svalbard is exceptionally dry, and their clever noses are made to retain moisture while also heating the air going into their lungs. Their fur is incredibly dense and consists of two coats. The hairs of the outer coat are hollow, which increases insulation. Their extreme fluffiness makes even starved reindeer look like they just got kicked out of the all-you-can-eat buffet. Their stubby legs and short, squat bodies are better at retaining and conserving heat than their long-legged cousins. Also, it makes them look like corgi reindeer, which is super cute. These two species of reindeer may have their differences, but they both adapted to their extreme environments in crazy and ingenious ways. While I was on Svalbard, everyone back home kept asking me whether I'd seen a polar bear yet. Unfortunately, or fortunately from my mom's perspective, this was the closest I got to a polar bear.
Yeah, you tell him.
Here are some quick polar bear facts for you. Polar bears are the largest species of land carnivore in the world and can stand up to 3 meters in height and weigh up to 800 kilograms. They are also the only bear species to be classified as marine mammals because of how much time they spend on sea ice and how much they depend on the ocean for hunting, breeding, travel, and even making dens. More than 96% of a polar bear's critical habitat is sea ice. They're so well adapted to their marine environment that their large paws are specially made for swimming. They can swim for days at a time and up to 10 kilometers per hour. The longest polar bear swim ever recorded was 687 kilometers, 426 miles, over 9 days by a female bear in the Beaufort Sea. The polar bear's entire body is designed to conserve heat and stay warm. Compared to other bears, like the black bear, polar bears have a stocky build and short legs, small ears, small muzzles, and small tails. This reduces the surface area they could potentially lose heat from and leaves their extremities less exposed. Like their reindeer neighbors, these Arctic giants also have 2 layers of fur and insulating hollow hair shafts. A fun bit of polar bear trivia is that their fur isn't actually white. Each hollow hair is transparent and reflects and scatters sunlight, making it appear white to our eyes. This is what a polar bear hair looks like under a strong microscope. Another surprise, they actually have black skin. Black skin is better at absorbing the sun's heat while also protecting against harmful UV rays. Underneath their black skin, they have a thick layer of fat, up to 11 centimeters thick, that keeps them warm in the icy Arctic Ocean. This fat layer can account for up to 50% of a polar bear's body weight. Fat is also an essential part of a polar bear's diet. Their digestive system is specialized to process a lot of fat. So much that if other animals were to eat as much fat, they wouldn't survive. Adult bears almost exclusively eat the blubber from seals and beached whales, which has an extremely high energy content that helps them generate heat. Cubs will eat blubber, but they also eat the meat for protein needed to grow. Their supply of fat has another use. As their bodies break down fat for energy, metabolic water is released as a byproduct. Since the bears live in a polar desert with little access to fresh water, this adaptation is a huge advantage. It's also a lot more efficient than melting and drinking snow, which would take a ton of energy to warm to body temperature. Camels do a similar thing with their stored fat. How is a polar bear like a camel? Sounds like it comes with a punchline, but there's actually a scientific answer. If you can't be funny, be a nerd. Unfortunately for all of you, I try to be both. So, while they're nicknamed isbjorn or ice bear, polar bears are actually pretty hot stuff. So much so that overheating is actually a bigger danger to them than the cold. One day on Svalbard, as my friends and I hiked towards the glacier, headlamps swinging across the glittering snow, we were startled by a small white ball of chaos that suddenly erupted from the snow less than a meter from me. Making an unearthly cooing sound, the ball suddenly sprouted wings and glided a few meters away. When it landed, I peered at it, just barely able to make out a beady eye and black beak in the dark of the 24-hour polar night. This strange, winged snowball eyeing me suspiciously was, of course, a Svalbard rock ptarmigan. Time for one of my horrible jokes. Why can you never tell when a ptarmigan is going to the bathroom? Because the P is silent. It's okay, you're allowed to groan. But it is true that the P in ptarmigan is silent. Other than this commonality, they're about as different from their pterodactyl cousins as it gets. The Svalbard rock ptarmigan is the only land-dwelling bird that lives on Svalbard year-round, though this may be due to their heaviness compared to other ptarmigan species, and their less than energetic flight preferences. These guys aren't nicknamed lazy snow chickens for nothing. While they do not possess apple-bottom genes, to our knowledge, they do have the boots with the fur. The ptarmigan's feet and legs are feathered, which keeps them warm as well as acting as snowshoes. Their intelligence reflects their diet, one of extreme simplicity. Though, to be fair, this is actually a clever adaptation. A simple, low-maintenance diet that varies with the seasons ensures that the ptarmigan will have a generally easy time finding food. They mostly eat vegetation like leaves, flowers, berries, and buds, adding woodier delights like catkins and polar willow in the winter. As you can probably imagine, this vegan diet isn't super rich in nutrients, but the ptarmigan has solved that problem by having a specialized pouch attached to their large intestine. This pouch helps the ptarmigan digest its plant-based diet by fermenting their meals in their throat before sending them on. Has anyone ever had kombucha? It's kind of like that. Sorry. Ptarmigans, like Arctic foxes, rely on their seasonal camouflage for protection. In warmer months, they're a quite lovely mottled brown, with a vivid swipe of red eyeshadow. This helps them blend into the summery environment of shrubs, bramble, and rocks. In the winter, they swap their brown plumage for pure white. This is a video I took in Lofoten, Norway, of a rock ptarmigan in autumn. I also managed to get the crazy sound they make when they take flight. I took these videos on Svalbard in winter when the ptarmigans were pure white and hard to see. I'd be lazy too if my camouflage was that good. The Svalbard ptarmigan is a popular game bird, though any local hunter will admit that in the winter it's not really hunting. These snowballs with beaks don't have the strongest self-preservation instinct, and you'd have a harder time catching a cold. Since we're already downsizing, let's go even smaller. Before living on Svalbard for 4 winter months, I was in Ecuador, living in an open-air treehouse in the Amazon rainforest. I was in insect heaven, constantly surrounded by cool beetles, giant butterflies, and psychedelic caterpillars. I even had a whiptail scorpion who lived in my shower. I named him Danny. I'm one of those weirdos who loves bugs, and I had a blast. When I left Ecuador and headed to Svalbard, besides the drastic change in humidity levels, one of the biggest changes for me was that I didn't see a single insect or bug in 4 months. I started to wonder if there even were any insects on Svalbard. And if there were, what happened to them in winter during the months of frigid temperatures and 24-hour darkness? As it turns out, there are insects on Svalbard, but not a whole lot. To give you an idea, Svalbard hosts about 250 species of insects. about 20 beetle species, 2 species of wasps, and 2 species of moths, with the rest mainly comprising of tiny mites and microscopic tardigrades. So, how do these insects survive Svalbard's extreme winter conditions? To make it through the harsh winter, they have 3 options. Their first option is to become freeze tolerant. Some insects produce proteins that prevents the water in their cells from freezing, but allows the water outside their cells to freeze. These insects reduce their metabolic rate and enter a sort of hibernation until the spring thaw. This strategy works with the freeze, by allowing the freeze to happen, but in a way that doesn't harm the insect. The second option is to avoid freezing entirely. These insects essentially produce their own antifreeze, such as glycerol. They also produce special proteins that bind to any ice crystals and prevent the crystals from growing any further. While these insects aren't frozen, they're cold enough that moving is a bad idea, and they also enter a state of hibernation. The third option is a full body dehydrating. This one is crazy. Some species, like earthworms, have systems that will push water vapor out of their bodies until they dry up. Can't freeze if there's no water, right? As temperatures warm and humidity increases, these species will rehydrate and go on their merry way like a freeze-dried backpacking meal. Who needs superpowers when you're an Arctic insect, right? My favorite example of an extreme Arctic insect is the caterpillar stage of the woolly bear moth. This cutie uses the second method and spends much of his life in an extremely chilly state of hibernation. During the warmer months, this caterpillar diligently munches away on leaves, preparing to pupate and form a cocoon like any other caterpillar. As temperatures drop, the woolly bear rolls up and, well, chills out. When spring rolls around, the woolly bear is once again up and at 'em, munching away at the salad bar. Here's the crazy part. To a tiny woolly bear, temperatures are only bearable for a few weeks in the summer. This means that the woolly bear spends around 11 months of the year as a fuzzy popsicle. The woolly bear needs a lot of leafy fuel to pupate, so this cycle repeats itself more than the average Arctic insect life cycle. The average lifespan for most caterpillars is 2 to 5 weeks. The persistent and tenacious woolly bear can stay a caterpillar for up to 7 years before finally eating enough leaves to build its cocoon. When the adult woolly bear moth finally emerges, it lives for only the few weeks required to mate and lay eggs. What a life, right? Let's zoom out and meet the heavyweight champ of the Arctic. One of my favorite things to do on Svalbard was to go on a day cruise up the coast on a small icebreaker. Something I learned on these excursions is that iPhones have a lot of trouble focusing when they are extremely cold. So, bit of advice, if you're in the polar regions and you want to take photos or videos with your phone, keep it warm. Otherwise, your videos will look like this. I promise you those lumps are walruses. The animals have their ways of adapting, we have ours. Did you know that the ice axe was invented based off a walrus's tusks? Not really, I just made that up. But there are similarities. While their signature tusks are used for defense and the shows of dominance you'd expect, they're also used for navigating sea ice and ice flows. Digging their tusks into the ice and snow like axes or ski poles helps their cumbersome bodies move around on their frozen slip and slides. They also use their tusks to smash through ice and create breathing holes while swimming. A fun fact, their scientific name, Adobenus rosmaris, means tooth-walking seahorse. These blubbery boys can withstand temperatures as low as minus 95 degrees Fahrenheit, minus 35 degrees Celsius, weighing in at up to 5,000 pounds for males and 2,700 pounds for females. Walruses have the correct body type for the Arctic beach. Another useful feature is that their blood vessels contract while in the icy water, protecting them from cold and turning them pale on the left. Like an uncooked hot dog with fangs, they turn pink on land as their blood vessels dilate and allow heat to escape. They're so cold resistant, they even sleep in the water. Walruses have air sacs called pharyngeal pouches on their throats that can hold up to 13 gallons of air. When in the water, these sacs inflate like pillows, which allows the walrus to sleep vertically without drowning. Seems like a gamble having two long pointy things right at your throat air pillow, but whatever works. When they're not taking an ice bath, they'll sometimes haul out onto ice floes or land. Hauling out gives them a chance to regulate their body temperatures, care for their young, and socialize. In some places, walruses haul out in the thousands, sometimes even piling up on top of each other. Walrus culture does not include the concept of personal space. All right, time to swap poles. Did you know that the word Arctic originates from the ancient Greek word arctos, meaning bear? Conversely, Antarctica translates to no bears. Bears up, no bears down. Who knew the ancient Greeks were so literal? Antarctica may not have bears, but it still has plenty of wildlife. Like everyone's favorite, penguins! Let's start with the basics. As you all already know, penguins are birds and have feathers. But these aren't ordinary feathers. Penguins have the highest density of feathers of any bird, and they come in two layers. The underlayer of feathers is a dense, woolly down. The top layer is made up of small, fluffy, and tightly packed feathers. Penguins can fluff out this top layer, trapping air under the feathers to increase their insulation. They also do this while swimming, fluffing their feathers out to catch bubbles, and using that extra boost to launch themselves onto the ice. Though feathers have their uses, it's mainly their substantial fat layer that keeps them toasty. That fat layer can make up to 30% of a penguin's body. Now that we've got the body covered, let's move on to the penguin's problem areas. Penguins have two areas that are very poorly insulated and often exposed: the flippers and the feet. The solutions for keeping these appendages warm is pretty brilliant. The muscles used to move the flippers and feet are not located in the flippers and feet. Instead, they're located deeper in the warmer regions of the body. Attached to these muscles are long tendons that connect to the bones in the feet and flippers. The muscles use these tendons to move the feet and flippers like string puppets. This way, it doesn't really matter if their feet or flippers get cold, because the muscles that operate them are nice and warm and ready for action. Unfortunately, this incredible solution still leaves the penguin's feet and flippers in danger of freezing, with the main concern being that the blood leaving the feet or flippers and entering the body will be cold enough to dangerously lower the core body temperature. Not to worry, penguins have yet another brilliant solution tucked up their flippers. Penguins have a heat exchange blood flow system into both their feet and flippers called rete mirabile. The warm blood entering the feet and flippers flows past the cold blood leaving. This warms up the cold blood moving towards the core and cools down the blood entering the feet and flippers. Blood in the feet and flippers is kept significantly colder than in the rest of the body, so that the feet and flippers aren't as affected by cold temperatures. By the time the blood re-enters the rest of the body, it has been warmed up sufficiently and doesn't affect the core body temperature. Some penguins have other tricks to keep their toes toasty. Emperor and king penguins often rock back on their heels while standing, using their stiff tail feathers for balance. This lessens contact with ice and snow and keeps the toes pressed against their warm bodies. Also, emperor penguins can recapture up to 80% of the heat escaping through their breath thanks to a complex heat exchange system in their nasal passages. pays to be an emperor. One well-known heating behavior of emperor penguins is huddling. Emperors huddle in groups of potentially thousands to keep warm using each other's body heat. They even rotate positions constantly so that no penguin has to stay on the outskirts of the huddle for too long. The huddling penguins don't quite touch, leaving room for the fluffed feathers to retain a layer of air insulation. Huddling is so effective that it even conserves energy. Studies have shown that a solitary emperor penguin loses about 200 grams of fat in a blizzard, while a huddling penguin only loses 100 grams. While penguins are super cute and definitely a fan favorite, there are other less well-known species in the polar regions that have worked just as hard on their amazing adaptations and deserve a quick shout out. The icefish may not have looks, but he's got some pretty neat cold adaptations. This fish is the only known vertebrate to have completely lost its hemoglobin, turning its blood white. Hemoglobin is used to transport oxygen in the blood. Since oxygen dissolves better in water at extremely low temperatures, the icefish have canceled their energy-stealing hemoglobin production subscription. Speaking of hemoglobin, a muskoxen's hemoglobin is specialized for the cold. It's less sensitive to lower temperatures than human hemoglobin and efficiently moves oxygen in the blood even on the chilliest of days. The muskoxen's hooves are also custom made for the Arctic. The thick outer keratin layer of their hooves is a dead tissue with no blood flow, preventing heat loss from their feet, kind of like they're wearing boots. The narwhal's tusk is actually a tooth and is a useful tool for navigating their Arctic environment. A narwhal's long, spiraling tooth is actually hollow and filled with nerves. It's a highly sensitive sensory organ and can detect water pressure, salinity, and temperature differences. This sensory information helps them navigate their environment and locate their breeding, feeding, and wintering grounds. Orcas, or killer whales, can slow their heart rate during dives and redirect blood flow away from less critical tissues to prioritize oxygen for the brain and heart. Arctic foxes use their huge fluffy tails as blankets, wrapping themselves up for a bit of extra warmth. All of these incredible animals have honed and perfected their Arctic survival strategies over many millennia. The Arctic is currently being heavily impacted by climate change and is warming 4 times faster than the rest of the planet due to Arctic amplification. The volume of ice in the Arctic has decreased by 1/3 over the past 20 years, and the rate of decrease is accelerating. Climate scientists have suggested that by as soon as 2027, the Arctic could experience its first ice-free summer. Animals that rely on sea ice, like polar bears and walruses, are struggling to keep up with their changing world, which is changing faster than they can adapt. The camouflage that ptarmigan and Arctic foxes rely on doesn't work when summer arrives too early. Even insects need the freeze, because if they don't freeze during the winter, then they have to try to eat through it. Normally, a lowered winter metabolism means that they don't have to try to find food in the barren, snow-covered landscape. Arctic animals definitely need our help, but they've also proven to be surprisingly tenacious. Polar bears on Svalbard have begun moving inland to hunt the reindeer when the sea ice can't support their seal hunts. Many Arctic birds have begun their migrations earlier, and walruses have begun hauling out on land rather than on sea ice. However, these changes come with their own set of challenges and problems. Arctic animals are capable and resilient, but they can only do so much. The first step to helping these amazing animals is to learn more about them. That being said, I'm so glad you're all watching this. and listening to it, and that you chose to take time out of your day to learn more about wildlife in the Arctic. Thank you for taking this crucial first step with me.